Welcome to the Human Nature Channel. I'm your host, Alex Tamsul, and what am I doing here? Well, it's Wednesday morning once again at my dad's stupendous farm garage. Yes, I know I'm biased, but there is always something interesting here in the ultimate man cave. What can I show you tonight? And then I said to myself, hey, in one of my earlier farm garage videos, I mentioned the railroad vise. Well, why don't I show it to you? I think it's a pretty serious hunk of iron, enough to make a C-clamp feel inadequate. What do we have here? Lagunitas Something Easy Ale. There we go. That happens to be 2 cents worth of aluminum, by the way. Hey, I just came up with an idea for a new YouTube channel. I think I got everything I need. I got my pointer with the magnet on it. Might as well grab that first. I have a yellow highlighter. I just got to find something to highlight. This reminds me of a story I heard in college years ago. Some naive freshman was going around asking people, what was the best color for highlighting text in textbooks? Somebody told him black. Don't worry, he was told. The black will fade and you'll see the printed words. I don't know who this kid was, but I wonder how much of a textbook got redacted until he figured out he'd been played. I have a checkpoint with an armed guard pencil holder. Don't ask me why. I have a beer coolie with a golf ball in it. You never know what you are going to find in my dad's farm garage. Okay, so let's get started. As usual, we begin with some Las Vegas shooting truth community news. The first order of business I'd like to cover is Doug Poppa's article published on July 19th, 2018 in the Baltimore Post-Examiner. The article has this title, Lombardo's after-action review confirms incompetence. Negligence led to October 1st Las Vegas Massacre. And brother Doug Poppa doesn't hold back. In a very sarcastic open letter to Joe Lombardo, Poppa castigates the sheriff's presser about the after-action review and how the review itself avoids any honest explanations for the key failures that came from the LVMPD's lackadaisical approach to securing large events, such as the Route 91 Harvest Festival. Most of the videos I've seen on the Las Vegas shooting so far have been about the shooting and its aftermath. But the nature of the security preparedness before the shooting, I didn't know a great deal about it. I'm sure it has been discussed in other places, but this was the first time I had seen an in-depth rundown on what Poppa calls Lombardo's incompetence and negligence. What an education that was, at least for me. Poppa writes, it took the death of 58 people and the wounding of almost 500 others for you and your team of professionals to finally agree that what should have been in place prior to the October 1st massacre was not in place. According to Poppa, the Route 91 massacre was foreseeable, predictable, and entirely preventable. Even though the Baltimore Post-Examiner has been dismissed by Lombardo and the LVMPD's Public Information Office as not a legitimate news organization, The article starts off by showing us another online news outlet, the Nevada Independent, receiving generous monetary contributions in an obvious quid pro quo for good publicity. Donation records from the Independent reveal that Sheriff Joe Lombardo donated $1,000 to them. But before you accuse the Independent of selling out cheap, it wasn't just Lombardo giving the money. MGM Resorts International donated to the tune of $350,000, as well as other contributions from Caesar Enterprises Services, R&R Services, and everybody's favorite two-faced political hack, Clark County Commissioner Steve Sisolak. Poppa's article goes even deeper into this when he takes a Nevada Independent writer, one John L. Smith, to task for a puff opinion piece he composed, complete with inaccuracies, praising Joe Lombardo and his leadership skill. Well, there's your old boy network in action. In an arrangement that couldn't be more blatant, the Independent has its metaphorical palm out to be greased, and Doug Poppa even calls it payola, a word I haven't heard in a long time. The Nevada Independent has got to have some big brass balls calling itself independent, if it ever was. What I'd like to know is, independent of what? There is a lot more. A former ranking member of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department told the Baltimore Post-Examiner that the MGM Resorts International Executive Director of Security and Surveillance, Tom Losich, knew prior to the October 1st, 2017 massacre that a sniper attack from a hotel window in Mandalay Bay was a distinct possibility. Losich, a retired deputy chief with the LVMPD, was hired in 2008 by MGM Mirage Corporation. According to the police source, Losich, while employed at MGM, was present during a training exercise where a mannequin was placed inside a window, simulating a sniper at a hotel high-rise. An FBI sniper inside a helicopter flying over the Las Vegas Strip made a successful shot and hit the mannequin. Here is where Doug drives the point home. This raises some serious questions as to why there weren't LVMPD snipers deployed during the Route 91 Music Festival. Mirage Corporation and its security personnel can't claim it wasn't possible for any of them to foresee such an event as the Route 91 massacre. On November 29, 2014, a housekeeping attendant entered a room in one of the high-rise towers at the Mandalay Bay Hotel. According to court papers, the attendant noticed a rifle with a scope lying on the floor. Security and the LVMPD were called in and discovered Kyle Aaron Dunbar, a convicted felon, and his wife occupying the room. Inside the room, police found two .223 caliber semi-automatic rifles, a 7.62 bolt-action rifle, a homemade silencer, and 3 handguns. The attendant gave Mandalay Bay the kind of eyes-on-the-ground vigilance that should be expected from hotel staff at all times. But the only way hotel staff will stay on their toes and be on alert for something out of the ordinary is by having the people in charge of security acting serious about security. Any type of security for a hotel must stress vigilance to staff forcefully and often and in no uncertain terms. When human lives are at stake, you have to crack the whip. There's no excuse for everybody getting lazy. There seems no doubt Resorts International Corporate Security had its file on Dunbar, with the same being said for the LVMPD and the FBI. Yet in less than 3 years, Stephen Paddock managed to bring 23 firearms and thousands of rounds of ammunition into his Mandalay Bay hotel suite right under everybody's noses. How did things at Mandalay Bay go downhill so fast in less than 3 years? It makes you wonder if that housekeeping attendant who sounded the alarm on Dunbar still works at Mandalay Bay. And if that wasn't bad enough, probably the most shocking yet not surprising piece of information in this article was that snipers were never deployed at the 2015, 2016, and 2017 Route 91 Harvest Music Festivals, even though in cities like Dallas, the police deploy sniper teams to watch over concert events as a matter of routine. Poppa gives us the thoughts of U.S. Navy SEAL Matt Bracken, who made this observation to the Baltimore Post-Examiner in May of 2018. This was an entirely foreseeable and preventable massacre. The prior FBI/HRT exercise proves this scenario had been considered. A police helicopter with a SWAT sniper should have been ready to go. The airborne sniper could have stopped Paddock after the first couple of minutes, saving dozens of lives and preventing the panic stampede. For that matter, counter snipers on the ground could have fired into the broken out windows to force Paddock back into the room and stopped him from firing down on the concert. Bracken was correct in his thinking because according to the after-action review, a SWAT sniper team was deployed in an LVMPD helicopter hoping to confront the shooter. It was difficult for the helicopter to get close enough to the Mandalay Bay window to observe the shooter. The problem here is the SWAT snipers didn't take to the air until after Paddock stopped firing. Had the snipers been in place, as Bracken said, the loss of life would have been minimized. In the after-action review, it states, at the time of this incident, policy was not in place specifically for a mass casualty incident response. This is as close as the review comes in finding fault with the LVMPD. We also read, it was clear from interviews not all levels of leadership knew what was expected of them. Excuse me, but I thought to protect and serve was what was expected of them. Or is that only for other police departments? Again from the report, as with many agencies, LVMPD studied the events in Mumbai, Boston, and Columbine High School, as well as the attacks of 9/11 on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. Despite those reviews and lessons, policies were not sufficiently robust to handle the magnitude of what happened on October 1st. There's a simple response to that bit of LVMPD self-awareness. How is it these policies were not sufficiently robust? I mean, really. Las Vegas is probably the third most famous city in America after Washington, D.C. and New York. You almost want to ask Sheriff Joe Lombardo, hey, what exactly are the taxpayers in Clark County, Nevada pay you for anyway if it's not to maintain a world-class police department at a high level of preparedness? My reaction to all this while reading Poppa's article was one of astonishment. You mean to tell me the leadership in the LVMPD and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Resort International Security had let themselves become so complacent that the greatest mass shooting in modern American history happened right before their eyes? Shame on you, Joe Lombardo, says Doug Poppa, for not being prepared. And as if this all wasn't bad enough, we also learn of the mindset of Lombardo's friend, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Resort International CEO Jim Murin. Murin, Director of Corporate Security, was at the FBI sniper scenario, and he later made the remark to a now retired high-ranking member of the LVMPD that he would never train for an incident like that and would absorb the liability if something like that happened. That goes way beyond negligence. Sorry you couldn't count that high in terms of a body count, Jim, but that's still cold-blooded indifference to human life. Could the phrase absorb the liability, which is bottom-line thinking at its worst, lead to Murin's arrest for depraved indifference? Well, not in Las Vegas, apparently. There's plenty more in the article, and I highly recommend it. Plus, there was a bit of a surprise for me. Doug Poppa gives us the words of Dick Marchenko, the founder of SEAL Team 6, quoting the Shark Man, saying, "There is no such thing as a coincidence." Pardon me for tooting my own horn here, but great minds think alike. Secondly, I'd like to talk about Mike Turber at 5x5 News. On July 17th, 2019, Mike did a 3.5-hour live stream, which would have been Wednesday morning. I wasn't home for it, but I did watch it on Thursday, and I found it very illuminating. A lot, and I do mean a lot, of great information was put forth. Mike gave us the skinny on the aviation fuel tank, which the shooter in room 32-134 was taking aim at. A detail of the Las Vegas shooting story I wanted to hear more about. I'm not going to tell you what Mike said. You can watch the whole 3+ hour show if you like. But I found myself saying, wow, which is something I say a lot while watching 5x5 News. Always great perspectives from Mike on what was really happening. I remember watching the broadcast news coverage of the Las Vegas shooting and how the news people breathlessly tried to tell us that Stephen Paddock wanted to shoot into the fuel tank so as to blow it up. Although none of them or their so-called experts seemed to have any idea that just firing into a tank like that would probably do nothing. But the shooter in room 32-134 knew more about airplane fuel storage than your average schmo. So of course, there was more to this target than simply shooting holes to start a kerosene leak. When it comes to Paddock, the perpetrator, versus Paddock, the participant, this does lend more weight to the perpetrator side because of Paddock's knowledge of aviation. But now I see no reason to expect anything like that from your run-of-the-mill broadcast TV journalists, going by their coverage of the Las Vegas shooting. A broadcast news person wouldn't know their ass from the hole on the 18th green. So don't expect anything like specialized knowledge from these corporate teleprompter jockeys. You don't have to know anything to do TV news. Also, on his July 18th live stream, Mike announced plans for expanding his operation. He's going to be starting some new YouTube channels which will go beyond the Las Vegas shooting. In future videos, Mike will be walking us through how the investigative process is done. There is also a plan for recreating the events of Las Vegas on October 1st, 2017, on a minute-by-minute basis, the goal being the definitive once-and-for-all timeline. Mike will start with a complete analysis of all the audio and build up from there. Personally, I think these are all great ideas, and I expect exciting stuff to come out of it. I feel fortunate that I'm getting my act together as a YouTube content creator at this time. A chance to get in on the ground floor of something this big and historic? I must be living right. The Greaser Warhol, at your service. So, the last bit of news, if you could call it that, is I will skip next week's garage video. Now, there is a chance I might do a short video for my apartment at some point. I did mention my San Bernardino shooting story, and I was going to get into that tonight, but I ran short of time. During my break, there are some things I want to take a crack at, like getting a Bitcoin wallet and getting on the BitChute. I'm also in the process of cleaning up my blog, which I've been posting to since 2013. My blog is called Tales from the Rabbit Hole, and you can find a link down in the notes. I have posted all my Las Vegas videos to it along with the transcripts. Like I said in an earlier video somewhere, this is all about the writing. Making videos is a great way to proofread your shit. I also plan on going back through all the old blog posts to make the fonts bigger for readability. I'll let you know when the facelift is done if you'd like to read some of my old stuff. I'm also thinking on going back and rewatching my Las Vegas shooting videos just to see how far I've come in terms of my knowledge base. I do enjoy knocking myself out making these videos, but there comes a time when you gotta sit back and prepare yourself for what's coming next. So, that's pretty much it for tonight. I would like to get to bed at a more or less normal time. Last week when I finished, I rolled into the house at around 7 a.m. and Dad was already awake and in the kitchen. He said to me, "Lassie, come home." Okay, Dad, I get the message. Oh, by the way, the song is Everything Is Broken by Bob Dylan. Have a good one. This next song goes out to the Asian guy I saw in Squirrel Hill on Tuesday wearing a Vegas Strong t-shirt. Twang, 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 twang. Twang, 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 twang. Broken lines, broken strings, broken threads, broken springs, broken idols, broken heads, people sleeping in broken beds. Ain't no use jiving, ain't no use joking. Everything is broken. Broken bottles, broken plates, broken switches, broken gates, broken dishes, broken pots. Streets are filled with broken hearts, broken words never meant to be spoken. Everything is broken. Seems like every time you stop and turn around, something else just hit the ground. Broken cutters, broken saws, broken buckles, broken laws, broken bodies, broken bones, broken voices on broken phones. Take a deep breath, feel like you're choking. Everything is broken. Every time you leave and go off someplace, things fall to pieces in my face. Broken hands on broken plows, broken treaties, broken vows, broken pipes, broken tools, people bending, broken rules, hound dog howling, bullfrog croaking. Everything is broken.
Later.